Man, y'all check on y'all folks. It's somebody named Robert.
That's crazy.
Somebody lied.
His name Robert.
Oh, they not ready to put it up there?
Nah, they said nah. She was like, "Come on, Robert, like wake up." Like basically, she was telling him to wake up, trying to tell him to get up. Yeah, we off summer. He dead for sure.
Yeah,
He dead.
Why would anyone allow two men who don't like each other to meet at the same residence where you know if they come across each other, it's gonna be some conflict? The reason why Michael killed Jizzle is because her and Michael was still getting it on. Her and Michael was still making that love lotion.
That's right. While Casino Jizzle thought he was building a life and a family with the woman he loved, she was allegedly still intimately involved with her first baby father, the same man who would eventually become his murderer in what seemed like a chance encounter that turned deadly in mere seconds. But before we uncover the shocking love triangle, jealousy, and violent history that led to this execution-style killing caught on camera by a neighbor's security system, let me take you back to understand how a promising artist with millions of streams and a bright future ahead of him ended up bleeding out on a driveway while holiday barbecues continued just yards away. This isn't just another tragic rap beef gone wrong. This is the devastating consequence of a woman allegedly playing both sides, two fathers who shared children with the same woman, and a prior shooting incident that set the stage for the ultimate act of revenge. His girlfriend, Brianna Holland, who was inside the house waiting for Casino to return, heard the gunshots and rushed out to witness the suspect, Michael Clayton, the father of her other children, speed walking toward his car after just executing the man she claimed to love. But that's not even the worst part of what she witnessed that day. Let me paint you a picture of who Casino Jizzle really was before his life was violently cut short. Born and raised on Memphis's east side, including neighborhoods like East Memphis and Orange Mound, Robert Tunstall was more than just another street rapper trying to make it big. Starting around the tender age of 13, he immersed himself completely and utterly in street activities, affiliating with the four-way Dom mob crew while simultaneously nurturing and developing a burning passion for rap music that was inspired by local underground icons like Don Tripp, someone whom he would later collaborate with and cite as one of his absolute favorite artists in various interviews that he gave throughout his career. But here's where the story gets interesting and starts to reveal the complexity of violence and success that defied Casino's existence. Tunstall's music career began gaining serious traction in the late 2010s with independent releases that highlighted and showcased his hustler's mentality and street-smart approach to the music business. He founded his very own label, Casino Gang Music Group, to support not just himself, but his community and fellow artists who were struggling to make it, emphasizing complete and total self-reliance in a city that was known far and wide for its do-it-yourself rap ethos and independent artist mentality. Key tracks like 4x4 Real, which amassed an impressive over 2.4 million YouTube views, and We the Ops with 1.1 million views and a remix featuring Asian Doll, absolutely propelled him into the spotlight and onto the radar of major players in the industry. Other notable songs included City Girls and various collaborations that truly showcased his versatility and range as an artist. By the time 2023 rolled around, he had released 6 complete projects since 2018, accumulating an astounding over 10 million Apple Music streams, a staggering 46 million YouTube views, and 67,000 Instagram followers who hung on his every post. His debut album arrived with much fanfare in 2021, and he was literally on the cusp of dropping Duh, a 19-track effort featuring guests like Don Tripp and Bankboy Wayne, scheduled for release on July 7, 2023, just 3 days after his brutal and untimely death would shock the Memphis hip-hop community to its core. But the thing about Casino Jizzle that most people don't understand or fully appreciate is that his rise to prominence was repeatedly and violently interrupted by a pattern of violence and legal entanglements that were deeply reflective of Memphis's challenging and dangerous environment. In 2014, he pleaded guilty to felony theft and robbery charges, marking his first serious brush with the criminal justice system. A more severe and potentially life-ending encounter with the law came in 2016 when he faced first-degree murder, attempted second-degree murder, assault, and reckless endangerment charges related to a 2015 shooting at Tennessee State University that killed 19-year-old Cameron Selman and injured 3 others. But the case completely collapsed when a key witness suddenly and mysteriously recanted their testimony, allowing Tunstall to avoid a potential life sentence that would have ended his music career before it ever truly began. In 2019, he survived a drive-by shooting at his home earlier in the year, followed by what would become one of the most talked about and traumatic incidents of his life, a targeted attack outside a Chuck E. Cheese in Cordoba, Tennessee, where he was spending quality time with his girlfriend and her children, simply trying to redeem tickets and have a normal family day. He was shot in the back and chest with devastating accuracy, requiring critical care and leaving him fighting for his very survival. But miraculously, he recovered and used the harrowing experience to fuel his music with even more raw emotion and authenticity, discussing it candidly in interviews as a major turning point towards attempting to leave street life behind, especially after becoming a father and realizing he had a young life depending on him. Now, let me break down the absolutely explosive and complicated love triangle that set the stage for Casino Jizzle's murder, because this is where the story transforms from a simple shooting into something scary. At the center of this entire tragic saga was Breonna Hollins, the woman who had children with both Casino Jizzle and her eventual killer, Michael Clayton. This wasn't just some casual dating situation that got messy. This was a full-blown drama that had been building pressure and tension for years, with jealousy, prior violence, and alleged infidelity all swirling together in a deadly combination that would ultimately explode on that 4th of July evening.
Why would anyone allow 2 men who don't like each other to meet at the same residence where you know if they come across each other, it's gonna be some conflict?
Here's what makes this entire situation so incredibly devastating and frustrating to analyze from any rational perspective. The shooting occurred at the home of Breonna Hollins' mother, a location where both men had apparently been known to visit at different times throughout their relationships with Breonna. According to detailed accounts from those close to the situation, Hollins was inside the house that evening, waiting for Casino to return from wherever he had been earlier that day, completely and totally unaware that her first child's father, Michael Clayton, was lurking outside the residence at that exact same moment. She had absolutely no idea that Casino was about to come back and walk straight into what would become his final confrontation, arriving at the house at the same time that Clayton was positioned outside, creating what appeared on the surface to be a chance encounter, but what many now believe might have been something far more orchestrated and deliberate.
She said that she in the crib chilling. She waiting on Casino to come back from wherever he was at. And she did not know that her child's father was outside, and she did not know that Casino came back and was on his way into the crib at the same time that her child's father was outside.
Hollins stated that she didn't know what words were exchanged between the 2 men, didn't know who said what or if they fought before the shooting, but what she did hear with crystal clarity were the unmistakable sounds of gunshots ringing out into the warm summer evening air. She said she ran to the door and immediately noticed Michael Clayton speed walking toward his car with purpose and urgency, trying to leave the scene without drawing too much attention, but clearly in a hurry to escape from what he had just done. In a moment of horror and puzzlement, she yelled at him, demanding to know why he had shot Casino, her voice cutting through the chaos of the moment. And here's where it gets even chillinger. She stated that Clayton said something to her that she would never forget, but she didn't reveal what those final words were, leaving everyone to speculate about what could have been so haunting that she refused to share it publicly. Then he sped off in his vehicle, fleeing in a black car that would later become crucial evidence in tracking him down. Now, here's what makes this entire situation even more heartbreaking and disturbing. The whole altercation was caught on camera footage, not from a camera at Hollins's home, but from a security camera at her neighbor's residence, capturing every second of the confrontation and shooting in digital detail that would later be used as evidence.
Not only that, y'all, there was witnesses out there. This is 4th of July. People are outside barbecuing, kicking it, dancing, laughing, giggling, right? This 4th of July.
These witnesses would later describe hearing the shots and seeing Casino Jizzle shot multiple times in the face or head area, with blood visible on his face and around his head. They also described seeing Breonna Hollins coming out of the house, desperately trying to help him and save his life, but the brutal reality was that he was already dead. There was absolutely nothing that she or anyone else could do to bring him back from the devastating injuries he had sustained in those final moments of his life.
We first brought you as breaking news last night at 9. We can now verify the person killed in a shooting last night near Bartlett was Robert Tunstall, better known as rapper Casino Jizzle. The shooting happened last night around 6:30 on Goldbriar Lane. Casino Jizzle planned to release his new album this Friday. Police say this man, Michael Clayton, is responsible for the shooting. He's wanted tonight for first-degree murder. If you know where Clayton is, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 901-528 cash.
Now, let's dig into the history that led to this explosive confrontation, because the backstory is absolutely crucial to understanding why Michael Clayton felt compelled to commit such a violent act. Reports indicate that Casino Jizzle had previously shot at Michael Clayton back in 2022 after Clayton allegedly made disparaging and disrespectful comments about Jizzle's son, crossing a line that no father should ever have to tolerate or accept.
When you got him on records, I'm talking about making videos saying that he done shot. Yeah. The man Casino Jizzle made a video saying that he done shot at Breonna's first child's father.
Casino even went so far as to reference this prior shooting incident in his music, creating diss track that made it absolutely clear that he had taken action against Clayton and wasn't afraid to let the world know about it through his art. This created a situation where both men knew there was unfinished business between them, a debt that someone would eventually try to collect on. Speculation from various community sources suggests that Hollins may have been playing both sides, allegedly maintaining some level of intimate relationship with Clayton while being in a committed relationship with Casino. The jealousy stemming from the fact that Clayton and Casino shared children with the same woman, and a prior shooting incident created the perfect storm that would end in Casino Jizzle's death. The speed and efficiency with which law enforcement moved on this case were actually remarkable and demonstrated just how strong the evidence against Clayton was from the very beginning. Memphis police issued a first-degree murder warrant on Michael Clayton on July 5, 2023, just one day after the shooting occurred.
Now, I'm talking about another cold-blooded part about it. I'm talking about, man, Memphis police has already issued a warrant for Michael Clayton.
Clayton was ultimately arrested without incident on July 10, 2023, in the 300 block of Exchange Avenue near the Shelby County Jail, bringing an end to the manhunt that had gripped Memphis for nearly a week. The evidence against him was apparently so overwhelming and undeniable that investigators felt confident moving forward with first-degree murder charges, the most serious homicide charge possible under Tennessee law, carrying the potential for life in prison or even the death penalty. So what exactly made the case against Clayton so airtight and impossible to defend against? Well, investigators had multiple crucial pieces of evidence working together to paint a complete picture of exactly what happened that evening. First, there was the security camera footage from the neighbor's home that captured the entire confrontation and shooting, providing visual documentation that would be nearly impossible to dispute or explain away in court. Second, there were multiple eyewitnesses from the neighborhood who were outside celebrating the 4th of July and saw the shooting occur. Third, there was the vehicle that Clayton fled in, reportedly a black car that could be traced through registration records and possibly additional surveillance footage from other cameras in the area, creating a trail that led directly back to the suspect. But perhaps most damaging of all was the fact that Breonna Hollins herself witnessed Clayton fleeing the scene immediately after the shooting, and even confronted him verbally before he drove away, making her a critical witness who could place him at the scene at the exact moment of the murder and testify to his guilty behavior and rapid departure. Now, let's talk about the devastating emotional fallout and ripple effects that this tragedy created throughout the Memphis community and beyond. Casino Jizzle's manager, Angie Strange, was the one who confirmed his death to media outlets, noting with heartbreaking irony that he had been actively promoting new music on social media just hours before he was gunned down in cold blood. Breonna Hollins posted emotional and raw messages on Facebook expressing her complete and utter devastation, her deep knowledge of his life and who he truly was as a person, and her fierce protectiveness over his memory and their child together, whom she referred to as Nunu Baby. She wrote about being losted without you and courageously addressed online trolls and critics who were attacking her during her time of immense grief and mourning. The tragedy didn't end with just Casino Jizzle's death, though. It sparked a chain reaction of violence and threats that demonstrated just how deeply this loss affected his family and loved ones. A 19-year-old relative of Tunstall's, Jacob Wilder, was arrested on July 18, 2023, for threatening a mass shooting at a nightclub in retaliation for Casino's murder, alongside other serious charges, including aggravated assault and burglary. But what makes this situation particularly tragic from a psychological and developmental perspective is the impact on the children who were involved. Breonna Hollins' children were potentially witnesses to the shooting or its immediate aftermath, and there are heartbreaking accounts suggesting that the youngest child may have witnessed his biological father, Michael Clayton, kill his stepfather, Robert Tunstall, creating a level of trauma that no child should ever have to process or carry with them throughout their life.
Man, y'all check on y'all folks. It's somebody named Robert.
That's crazy.
Somebody lied.
His name Robert.
Oh, they not ready to put it up there?
No, they said no. She was like, "Come on, Robert, like wake up." Like basically, she was telling him to wake up, trying to tell him to get up.
I can believe that too, but I'll be coming home some nights and folks be like that house. They be talking crazy. I heard from the phone talk. I'm like, God.
I mean, because we don't think it's they folks
I'm
though.
about some breaks. Like, don't get nothing. Courtesy of y'all.
Oh, they
Them
finna block
ain't
their whole
gone.
part off.
I mean,
Dang.
yeah, I don't know if they're going to bando. They won't be out. I ain't going nowhere. But I'm just saying.
You better let your money go too, so I'm feel right.
Man, I ain't here. You gotta go all the way around.
I just happened to come out and smoke a cigarette, then I'm like, I kept seeing the folks walk across the
I
street, and then they
heard
were
the-
looking back.
I heard the sirens. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
man.
I kept hearing that
Somebody
too.
had a fire start or, something. Whatever. But normally you
Then
hear
it was
sirens, they
getting
go down
loud and
there.
loud. I said,
Somebody go down there. I
I
think.
and I walked on out, and that's when I said,
Oh, she crying. Cause she was trying
Got
to.
health issues, so the ambulance went down there a lot. So I'm like, all right, the ambulance, whatever. I keep bringing a light. Yeah. I'm like, and then you came in the house. It's like, all right, let me see what's going on.
Casino Jizzle's death tragically odds to a devastating and disturbing string of losses in Memphis rap, including artists like CEO Bezel, Young Dolph, Lotta Cash Desto, Snooty Wild, Big Moda, Princess Loco, and Gangsta Boo, who all died between 2020 and 2023. This pattern raises serious and troubling questions about violence in the Memphis hip-hop scene specifically, and about the support systems that are failing these young artists who are trying to escape their circumstances through music, but keep getting pulled back into the dangerous street life that they're trying so hard to leave behind. In interviews before his death, Casino Jizzle discussed the Memphis rap landscape with knowledge and passion, his recovery from the 2019 Chuck E. Cheese shooting with gratitude for a second chance, his exciting collaborations with artists like Asian Doll and Don Tripp, and his heartfelt aspirations to escape street dangers for his family's sake and give his son a better life than he had growing up. Despite having no major public beefs with other artists, his life story powerfully underscored the constant perils of blending the street world and the music world, two realities that often prove impossible to keep separate no matter how hard artists try. His legacy endures through his music, which often preached resilience, perseverance, and community uplift, despite the violent themes that dominated many of his tracks. His story serves as a tragic warning amid Memphis's notoriously high crime rates, prompting urgent calls for better support systems, mentorship programs, and resources for emerging artists who are trying to use music as a way out of poverty and violence, but who continue to face threats from their past lives that they can never fully escape. Do you also think Casino's girlfriend was playing both sides? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.